I'll be taking some time today to delve into some of the weirdest plants that I know of. When starting my journey of plant identification, I had the misconception that the end goal for a botanist was to learn every plant. And I had a lot of misconceptions that I think people might relate to when it comes to plants in general. But this one was especially false. There are too many. Even the most seasoned botanists can be stumped by a plant, and the list of known plants is always growing. Learning this is somewhat comforting when first starting out because nobody knows every plant, so one tends to specialize and focus on specific fields that interest them. Keeping this in mind, I would like to share some plants I've found to be the most interesting. Starting our journey with parasitic plants, one plant near and dear to my heart. Common names include the ghost plant, the ghost pipe, or the Indian pipe. And this plant has captured the curiosity of botanists due to its mysterious lifestyle and adaptations. Unlike most plants that use photosynthesis to produce their own food, Monotropa eupiflora is mycoheterotrophic, which means it doesn't require photosynthesis. And instead it gets its nutrients from a parasitic relationship with fungi, specifically fungi like Russula and Lactarius. These fungi are mycorrhizal partners with trees such as oaks and pines, and those are abundant in northern New York where I live. The fungi beneath the soil acts as a middleman, tapping into the roots of trees to obtain nutrients, and they then share these nutrients with the ghost plant, sustaining it in shaded areas in the forest where plants that need sunlight may not thrive. Interestingly, this plant isn't the only one to utilize such a mycoheterotrophic lifestyle. There are other plants like Monotropa hypophytes and Sarcodes sanguinea that require similar fungal partnerships for their survival. Each of these plants has evolved to take advantage of an intricate underground network of fungi, demonstrating nature's wild solutions for survival in challenging environments, and they all seem to take very unique forms. And this brings us to the Rafflesia, one of the weirdest plants to exist. Rather than depending on fungal network for its food, the biggest flower of any known plant on Earth parasitizes vines in the rainforests of Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines, typically vines of the genus Tetrastigma. You may have thought, like I did, that the corpse flower was the largest flower, but this is an inflorescence that's a collection of flowers. The corpse flower has a central spadix contained within what's called a spathe, and the plant is not parasitic and photosynthesizes like most, but shares a stinky similarity with the actual largest flower, which is the Rafflesia. Both of these plants share the ability to smell really bad, and it seems a cruel joke for the flower lovers out there that the two biggest and most impressive floral structures on Earth both smell like rotted meat. Bad smells are subjective, though, because these plants smell really good to the bugs that pollinated them. If you are looking for a huge flower that doesn't smell bad, I'd look into dinner plate hibiscus or hibiscus machuto. And if you are looking for a huge inflorescence that doesn't smell bad, I have to mention agave inflorescences, which grow as tall as trees, or sometimes taller, and with a growth rate of entire foot a day, which is the last part of an agave's life, because after creating that tree-sized inflorescence and blooming, the plant dies, making agave plants monocarpic. Some species of Rafflesia can have flowers over 39 inches in diameter, which crowns them the biggest flower on Earth, which is really impressive, especially for a plant that has no roots. It doesn't have any stems or leaves, and it just grows within a vine. In the sands of the Sonoran Desert, the sand fooder Phylloxera sonore is another parasitic plant that I find fascinating. Phylloxera sonore can extend its stem up to 2 meters below the surface of the sand, and only a small part of it peeks out of the sand dunes. Often it's mistaken for a mushroom because it really looks like one. It's only partially parasitic, and it latches onto the roots of desert shrubs like buckwheat and ragweed, siphoning off nutrients. Despite its parasitism, the sand food doesn't steal water from its host. Instead, it absorbs water from the air directly through tiny pores in its leaves. There's some evidence that during droughts, the sand food might share some of its absorbed water with its host, creating more of a symbiotic relationship. Phylloxera sonore is under threat due to human activities. However, a campaign led by the Fort Yuma Quechan tribe aims to protect it by establishing a national monument. This could safeguard the plant and other rare plants for future generations. Statistically, deforestation and human activity is certainly destroying things yet to be described by science, which makes plant education important, but it's also important to me personally. Deforestation makes our world less cryptic and interesting, and it's a real evil. Plants as a whole, though, will outlive us, and that gives me some comfort. There is so much diversity and beauty out there yet to be discovered in the plant world, and a lot of good that can be done conservation-wise through cultivation. And even if you don't care or pay any mind to conservation, in a seemingly unchangeable world, you can change the traits however slightly and leave your mark on a species that will long outlive you, and that is beautiful. I hope one of the plants I featured today may inspire you to study them and dive down this rabbit hole with me. There are infinite different weird plant forms and behaviors out there that blow my mind, and it's an infinite source of content. I couldn't possibly cover all the cool plants I've read about in this video. So there will be more to come. If you know me, you know my true passion is desert plants, so today I'll be giving you a tour of my cacti. And they bring me much joy, and I hope you are able to pick one up for yourself if one of them speaks to you. I can't promise my Latin pronunciations are correct, because I've learned by studying text and not by mentorship. And I have a bad habit of using the terms cacti and cactus interchangeably, regardless of the plurality. But I hope you enjoy.
This is a Parodia conina. I really like how the meristem is kind of woolly and then morphs into this sort of mandala shape. It really stands out among kind of earth tones as very geometric. And I have a number of Parodias on the docket today. It's a genus I've really taken a liking to. This is one of my Gymnocalycium brucii, and I really like how it's pupping. The little pups kind of look like fingers, and I've seen plants that are really old of this species, and they look really cool, and they continue to pup and sort of form these big clusters, and I'm excited to see if it gets that big. This is another really cool Parodia bueningii, and this is a small specimen I believe I got at Agwe. I really like its colorful spines. It kind of has two colors of the spines and really cool ribs. This is my first ever cactus, actually, Maleria prolifera, or prolifera, and it is a prolific grower. It just keeps pupping and creating new little offsets, and it's a beautiful plant. I really like the way it looks, and I'm glad I've kept it alive for as long as I have. This is Kyofoso Cactus multicostatus, and the kind of wave-like ribs on this one are really interesting. I really like them. This was purchased at the Potsdam Agwe. And I also really like how the spines, when they first come out of the meristem, are kind of reddish. It gives it kind of a cool color scheme. This is one of my favorites, Gymnocalycium emerhauseri, and I like it because it kind of looks like peyote, and it kind of just looks like a green blob. I really like sort of spineless cactus, and although this isn't spineless, it's pretty close, and it really just looks like sort of Godzilla skin to me, which is cool. Now this one I'm a little bit unsure of the ID. Hagioserius versicolor is my best guess, but because these columnar cactus sometimes can look like each other, really similar, it could be another Hagioserius, or it could be a completely different genus, and I'm totally off on my guess. So feel free to let me know if you think this is something else. This is one of my favorites, Puna subterrania. I really like how it grows. It kind of has a deep taproot, and usually you can't see any of the trunk. You can only see kind of the heads of those meristems, and I really like how this grows. It kind of just looks like a little bonsai, and it branches out and just kind of keeps forming more of a mat in the desert. This is Mamalia nehapensis, which I believe comes from the Nehapen region in Mexico. And it is dichotomizing, which means that it's starting to form two heads. And you'll see when I show the top here that it's going to become two-headed at some point in its life, and it makes pretty cool flowers. It's flowered once for me already, and I really like how it looks, and I'm excited to see how it looks with two heads. This is a Parodia Hasselbergii, or Hasselbergii, and this thing makes beautiful red flowers. It's never flowered for me, but I've seen flowers online of this cactus flowering, and oh my goodness, they are big and red and beautiful, and I can't wait to see them. It kind of looks like a donut. It's very short right now, but I know that they do get bigger. This was a gift, Maleria spinosissima. I was a little bit torn with the ID. I thought it might have been Mamalia marcosii, but I believe it's spinosissima, and it's a slow grower, but it's absolutely cool looking in the way that its spines grow. This is one of my favorite cactus, copia tenisa, and it's because it's rare and it's endangered, and it just looks very cool, and the woolly trichomes on the top of it are really cool to touch, and they don't irritate your skin at all or anything. It's just very soft, and it kind of looks, again, like sort of Godzilla skin. I really like this one. This is Echinopsis subdenudata, and it's the cultivated variety Dominoes, and I believe because of those domino dot sort of looking spine, those areoles there. I really like how this one is like kind of gaining and subtracting ribs at certain points, and how round it is. This one I'm unsure of because of the weird way that it's growing. I know that it's a Gymnocalycium, but I do not know what kind it is, and my best guess, Gymnocalycium baldianum. I think it looks really cool how it's growing, and it looks similar to Emmerhauseri, but I think it's distinct and something different. This is Mamalia decipiens. It used to be known as Mamalia camptotricha, and it's flowering. This I tried to go from seed, which I was unsuccessful, but I found adult plant at Adirondack greenhouses from my friend Stephanie, and it's a beautiful plant. This is Gymnocalycium huberi, and I really like this one. It's similar in its texture to some of the other green spineless cacti, but this one has some aggressive spines, and its skin looks a lot to me like almost a turtle shell on the sides, the way that it segments. And it's just a beautiful plant. This one is a mystery. I'm really unsure what it is because it's dichotomizing and making two heads. It has so many spines, so it's hard for me to really put a firm ID on this one. If you want to take a guess, feel free to let me know. I feel like it's some sort of Mamalia, but I won't really be able to take a good guess till it flowers. This is Cactus setaspinus, which is my biggest cacti, and it has bloomed already 9 times since I got it, and it still has 5 or 6 more queued up to go. So it is quite the prolific bloomer, and I hope I can get it to make a fruit because the fruit look very cool, like little cherries almost. This plant is a little worse for wear. It kind of has some history to it. I can tell from the way that some of these spines are scraped or bumped off of the plant. But it's still thriving and healthy and flowering. This one was from Lowe's, and it's a hardy plant. It's really sticking in there, so I'm glad this one's in the collection. It's a very big plant, Mamalia mystax. This is also known as the Eve's needle cactus, Austrocylindropuntia subulata, and there's actually a lot of different Eve's needle cactuses in there. I think there's four or five, so eventually I might separate these, but right now they're growing happily all together in this little pot. So this is the collection all together here in the dresser. This is a dresser that I've taken the drawers out to put plants in. My newest plant that wasn't in the last part is this little Thello cactus hexadrophorus. Beautiful plant. I want to breed it with my other Thello cactus and maybe try to make a hybrid. It's got a pretty deep taproot. All these plants are fit in to kind of maximize space, as you can see. And yeah, it's a little garden. Over here, to the right, I have my cactus seedlings in these little bags because cactus seedlings need really high humidity, and I have some Areocarpus and some Areocyce and some Mamalia growing in there, and I also have a couple autoflowers that you can see growing under these lights at the same time. And yeah, thanks for watching.